Will Smith smack Chris Rock in the mouth at the Oscars? Is it ever alright to smack someone in the mouth in the Oscars, or make jokes, or even have Oscars? Is the world falling apart before our very eyes, unable to sustain even the briefest spectacle of meaninglessness? Hello there, you 5.3 million awakening wonders. Together we continue to grow on our journey towards the light, both inner and outer. If you are not a subscriber to my mailing list yet, you should subscribe at the end of the video if you enjoy it. Today, of course, we are talking, like everybody, about the Oscars, where, did you know what happened? One man, he slapped another man on accounts of a joke, but perhaps a joke that was insensitive. Let's have a look at that weird little moment again.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right?
So that is the sort of contested remark. Now, if you come from a cultural perspective, outside of the racial perspective, actually, where you consider the hair of women of colour to be a sensitive issue, then that comment is loaded in ways that perhaps people outside of that cultural lexicon may not appreciate, and I would have to include myself in that. So me watching that just as a casual observer, I feel, oh, like Chris Rock, who, my personal belief, having met Chris, I feel once or twice, is that he's a man without malice in any large degree. You know, some comedians, you can tell they operate on a level of attack. And I would say the medium itself requires a certain amount of consent, like comedy. You have to go, okay, I'm coming here for a person to tell jokes. At a time where there's increasing censorship around what can be said, we're not querying what can be seen, where an act of, let's call it what it was, violence, Will Smith has admitted that himself, can be broadcast around the world, along with some quite aggressive invective, at a time that people are very concerned around what jokes are able to be said. It's interesting what is forbidden and what is allowed. Who's allowed to do what? Who's allowed to say what when? These are all questions that have been ossified in the kind of cyclone of this event.
Uh-oh, Richard. Oh, wow.
I suppose if we want to understand this as compassionate human beings, we should for a moment place ourselves at the vantage point or in the position of each of the three protagonists. How would you feel if you were Will Smith and someone said something offensive and sensitive about your partner? Likely you would feel angry. Maybe you would feel motivated to action. How would you feel if you were Jada Pinkett Smith and someone made a comment about something that you were sensitive about? I suppose you would feel hurt and wounded. How would you feel if you were Chris Rock and you were doing your job, which includes making a joke, which have to walk a particular line of sort of provoking a response, and then somebody hit you in the face? I imagine you'd feel incredibly unsafe, threatened and challenged. So I suppose how you see this yourself might be a result of what your personal experiences have been, what your cultural, racial, social alliances are. I'm not saying that you might be members of a specific group, just how you see yourself aligned. I'm talking in particular about the kind of context that have emerged around the culture war. Now, my personal opinion is that we have to try and find transcendent perspectives, and here is mine. When I saw that, I felt really sad. I felt sad that someone that I really like, Chris Rock, has been hit in the face by someone else I really like, Will Smith. That two people in an already extraordinary situation, this bizarre pageant, the Oscars, an extraordinary celebration, it has to be said, of excess and, to a degree, frivolity. There's always conversations around these events about how much people should talk about issues that really matter and use it as a platform to draw attention to the war in Ukraine or whatever particular issue is defining that time. But let's face it, if those things are really what's important to us, we wouldn't actually have an Oscars ceremony at all. When I saw that, I felt like, oh no, the bubble cannot sustain itself. The spectacle, as Guy Debord would call it, the spectacle by which we're all distracted. You should read Baudrillard on the Gulf War series, his essays on that, that we live now in a confection of reality rather than reality itself. That the Oscars is a kind of pageant, a celebration of a certain set of values which can't sustain themselves, that were unable to sustain themselves. I felt the seeping encroachment of the real world crept into the Oscars, like the presence of the Ukrainian conflict, the awareness of the last 2 years of pandemic, the sense of a broken and fissured culture could not be kept at bay, even with all of the sequins and velvet and celebration. It slipped in the form of a slap. Now, if you think that's kind of highfalutin, remember for a moment that each individual involved in that situation, even the people that devised the Oscars a century ago or whenever it was, all have an unconscious mind. The reason there's consistent imagery in culture is because we have common cultural and unconscious references that we access and express. And I feel like those forces somehow made themselves present. It's like that event broke the framework of the Oscars. When Will Smith, and again, I got no judgment. I can imagine a situation where I would slap someone around the face if I was offended. I can imagine a situation where I'd make a joke and then think, oh God, I shouldn't have made that joke. I can imagine a situation where someone would say something about something I'm sensitive about. I can imagine any one of those situations. So me personally, and you can do whatever you want to do, I'm not going to nail my colours to the mast of a particular outcome because, if I meet Will Smith, I've met him before, I would like to be able to go, oh right, Will, that was a bit mad. Or if I met Chris Rock, well, are you okay? If I met Jada Pinkett Smith, I'm in no position to judge anybody. I've done a bunch of stupid things in my life. What interests me is the phenomena of the Oscars. Why are we even having Oscars? Don't you think what this shows us is our reality can no longer sustain it? Do you know, it's like if you're in a broken marriage trying to put on some weird carnival in the back garden, or if you're suffering from cancer or something, so come on, let's enter a ballroom dancing competition. Don't you think we should focus on the lymphoma? No, forget the lymphoma. Put some more lipstick on. It's like the gala can't hold itself together anymore. What is your reality? Think about this for a moment. I bet you, like me, was sort of fascinated by it. Someone goes, did you see that thing with Will Smith? Oh shit, man, poor Chris Rock. Oh my God, what's going on? I didn't even like the swearing, to be honest. I didn't even like seeing Will Smith going,
keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth!
Oh my God, what's happening? This is like the Oscars. This is a festival of meaninglessness. Why is it suddenly being invested with such forceful and priapic meaning? So when it actually spilled into violence, what I felt was, oh wow, this reality can't work anymore. This reality is over. Now, obviously, I bring personal baggage to that because I've been to the Oscars. I've hosted award shows. I've been a celebrity in my life. And my personal experience of it is this is not judgment of the individuals involved. I met amazing, brilliant, gifted people in that world. But as a system, one wonders what its function is now. What is the function of this? Furthermore, think about this. I bet you, like me, were fascinated by it, but ask yourself, really, how much do you actually care? Do you really care about Will Smith and Chris Rock and Jada Pinkett Smith? Oh yeah, but it's this issue and that issue. Sure, those issues are important. But do you care about it more than, for example, your own dog or cat? Or your own nan, or your own sister or brother, or your own mates, your own jobs, or what you might have for dinner tonight? We're all participating in something that we don't actually care about at all when you think about it. Would it matter if the whole thing just went away? Would you really care? Would you feel bereft? Now, I know that if they went, hey, we're going to do an Oscar ceremony for good YouTube videos, I'd be down the tuxedo shop. saluting the dollar bills and the red carpet. I'm not condemning people for finding it seductive. That's what glamour does. Glamour is the synthesis of meaning, the simulation of meaning. We all willfully enter a simulation every day when we put our clothes on and pretend our own reality is important. But to see it elevated, amplified to such a gargantuan, glitter-coloured turd of empty magnificence, for me, is something that's always been a little bit troubling. You have an eerie, haunting echo in yourself that this don't matter. Ask yourself for a moment, what really went on in Will Smith's mind? Will Smith is an intelligent and brilliant man who's made for himself, using the tools available to him, a rather incredible life. What did he really feel in that moment? What did Jada Pinkett Smith really feel? What did Chris Rock really feel? Because they're just human beings like you and me. And on some level, because I've been to these events, everyone knows it's kind of stupid, but everyone knows that it's kind of exciting if someone passes you one of them statues or talks about you. The same as in our lives, if someone goes, oh, you know, they think you're really good looking. Do they? Do they indeed? Well, I've always liked them. Like, I'll change my opinion of a person on Arthur Sixpence. I don't like that geezer, he's an idiot. No, he says that he thinks you're really clever. He's all right, him. I like him. I like the way he sees reality. He's a good guy. All of us are out in the world trying to sort of suck up values from meaningless stuff. A pat on the back, a gold coin, a penny for the guy, a moment of attention. But there is something real that's accessible. The thing that's being synthesized, the thing that's being simulated, grandeur, glory, magnificence. These things are accessible to us in very humble, simple ways, in the kind of ways that we see spoken about every day. Family values, connection, community, principles. What I suppose I learned from that Oscar spectacle is the reality that we are being invited to live in, the cultural reality, because it's not an objective thing, it's a construct, you can see that, right? It's falling apart. It's falling apart because it needs to fall apart. It can't even sustain itself using its own limited framework. It's carving its own lapidary tombstone out before our eyes. Here lies show business. Here lies glamour. Here lies spectacle and distraction. It's over. Can you really stay invested in it? Of course we care when we see some little moment of human drama, the same way as if I looked out a window and saw someone smack someone in the mouth, I'd be like, oh, bloody hell. But being invited to garnish it with social and cultural meaning is, I think, a kind of trick, particularly if, as always, it's used as a trick to divide people against one another. Oh, well, you would say that, wouldn't you? Because you're from this background and you have these racial identities. I don't make no judgment on any of the individuals involved. I've done stupid things that probably line up with every one of those, let's say, the three main players' perspectives. I wouldn't like to be smacked in the mouth while I was on stage doing some jokes. I wouldn't like to hear my wife abused. I wouldn't like something I'm sensitive about being ridiculed. You know what I mean? This is life. This is life. This is the madness of life. And you can join up with whatever tribe you feel most aligned with, you know. But what I feel we should all get together on is we are here now creating a reality. You could have ceremonies for whatever. You could have systems and institutions for whatever is important to you. What are your values really? If we continue to live in a kind of de facto reality, a fatica sats reality, an outsourced reality that we're not participants in, where we're happy to tip-tap away about other people's realities, then I think we're missing the point of life. And that's what I felt most keenly when I watched that. This is sad. Something is over. We're not talking about Cary Grant and the old days where everything was kind of urbane and sophisticated. It's gone. It's fallen apart. You can see it in music, you can see it in sport, you can see it in your supermarket. The state of commercialism and commodification has reached a tipping point. It's reached the point where it can't sustain itself anymore. The illusion is breaking down. The Oscars can't even get to the end of itself without smacking itself in the mouth because it somehow, in some unconscious way, knows that it's stupid now. It knows that there's no point. Yeah, but it's a role model. Yeah, but it could be this. Yeah, I suppose it could be. We could say anything about anything. This could be a metaphor for potential or emptiness or craft work or a little glass hat for a silly little bonnet. But the fact is it doesn't mean anything at all. And that we have to make meaning. And we should start being aware of the meaning we are making and the meaning we're not making. This might be the best chance we get. There is a war in Ukraine. There has been a pandemic. There is incredible economic inequality. There is an attempt to create centralized technocratic forces that bypass national government control. There's more centralization at a time where there needs to be devolution. There are resource wars. There are concerns about ecology. There are concerns about the way we communicate with one another. And for a moment, these things were all epitomized in the tiny tundra of an admittedly well-delivered slap. So, why bother judging the individuals? Any one of them could be wrong or right depending on your perspective, your biases, your experiences, your alliances. What ain't right is continuing to live a life of distraction and casual unconscious destruction at a time where our entire ontology could be reviewed, reawakened, where we can change reality. If you can get to a situation where it's normal to have that Oscars ceremony, surely we can create alternative realities. And that's the journey I'm interested in. That's the journey I want to go on with you. Is that the journey you want to go on? Let me know in the comments below what you think, what you feel, how you think this is divided divided people, how you think it's been amplified. Does it really bother you? Did you sort of get angry? Why didn't you say something? Why won't you say whose side you're on? Say whose side you're on. I'm on our side. There are no sides. It's all an illusion. It's all a game. Wake up, baby. This is your chance. It's happening. That's just what I think, though. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, then have a look at this one. Or this one, indeed. And please sign up to my mailing list so I can communicate with you regularly and let you know what the hell I'm up to. I'm always up to something, baby. I'm touring the UK. I'm making jokes. And if you don't like my jokes, just wander up to me and smack me in the face. We've got a lot to think about and a lot to discuss. It's very important to me that you stay free.